Hello, this is Janet Michael. In addition to hosting The Valley Today each weekday at noon on the River 95.3, I also produce podcasts, and I'm excited to introduce you to a new podcast series in partnership with Lord Fairfax Community College. Having provided higher education and career training for the past half-century, LFCC is tightly interwoven into the fabric of the Northern Shenandoah Valley and Piedmont regions. Join me every week for conversations with current and former students to hear their funny and inspiring stories as we learn about their journey to higher education, the role that LFCC has played, where they are now, and where they plan to go. We'll also talk to current and former professors about their experiences and best memories of LFCC over the past 50 years. Get every single episode as they're released on our website at theriver953.com under the podcast tab, or you can subscribe for free in Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, on Spotify, Amazon Music, wherever you listen to podcasts. Just search for LFCC Stories. Hello and welcome to The Valley Today. I am your host, Janet Michael. Happy Monday as you are listening to the show today. We, however, have pre-recorded our conversation on the Zoom screen. I am staring at two black squares with names on them. Ed Carter is on one of those squares. He is the VDOT Edinburg Residency Administrator. On the other square is Ken Slack, a voice that you are absolutely going to recognize here in just a second. He is VDOT Staunton District Communications Specialist, and this is our, now we can call it an annual because we did it last year, guys. So now it is our second annual VDOT Snow Show. So thank you for coming to meet me on the Zoom screen, and we're going to talk snow.
Excellent. Thank you for having us again.
So Ed, does it change from year to year when you're planning what you're going to do for snow? I mean, how heavily do you rely on the Farmer's Almanac and the forecast and all of those kinds of things when you guys are planning what you're going to need supply-wise for the winter?
Well, we try to plan for a worst scenario situation regardless of the forecast. This year, our forecast, which we take from several sources, shows us to have a not necessarily a mild winter, but maybe some above average temperatures and not as harsh as we've had in some. The last year was fairly mild for us. And consequently, we had a lot of events, but they were small events.
And if I recall correctly, a lot of them happened on a Friday, a Thursday, or a Friday, so you weren't worried so much about work traffic because it happened over the weekend.
Well, that's true. But this year, of course, not knowing when they might hit, we still have ramped up with all of the normal supplies and all of the normal equipment that we would have, just as if we were expecting to have a foot of snow every other day.
You better not ever say that out loud again. I hate the snow more than life itself. And how dare you even utter such a sentence?
Well,
it is well known within VDOT that snow is truly a four-letter word.
Yes, it really is. And Ken, you kind of come at it from a different angle because as the communication specialist, you kind of have to make sure you get the word out to everybody when there's something going on with the roads. You have to send out the safety things to tell the general public when they should potentially stay home. I mean, what is your role in the snow part of keeping people safe on the roads?
Well, I'll tell you what, I would take my role over the role of a snowplow operator any day because I'm on a snow day. I'm typically getting up around say 3 or 3:30 in the morning and trying to get a handle on conditions and putting some news releases and information out on social media in time for the morning news for the morning drive for you guys and for the for the TV stations and for the morning updates that the newspapers put up on their websites. But that certainly beats, rotating 12-hour shifts in a snowplow out there in the elements. So my hat's off certainly to the men and women who are doing the real work out there because I just sit in my comfortable living room and send out news releases and talk on the phone. So it's not a bad gig, I'll say that.
So how do you get that information? Are there certain points of contact like Ed that reach out to you and say, hey, Ken, here's what we're dealing with on 81 in Shenandoah County? Or is there a centralized way that all that information comes in to all of you at VDOT?
Well, there are some times when I receive specific information from folks like Ed and other internal sources at VDOT, but the bulk of the information that I gather together and share with the public actually comes from the same place you can get it, and any one of the listeners out there can get it, and that's the Virginia 511 system. Much of the time that I spend putting together, say, a news release is going through the individual counties in our district on the 511 website, and just go county by county to see what their reported conditions are for the interstates, for the primary roads, for the secondary roads, because our folks that are out in the field report that several times a day, and it shows me exactly when that information was last updated. And so 511virginia.org is out there, and it's a great resource for the public and for me as well.
And I love Virginia 511. And I'll tell you, I had one of those blonde moments. We had traveled a year or so ago to Scranton, Pennsylvania to visit our son. And I totally didn't realize we had crossed state lines. And I'm like, why isn't the Virginia 511 not working anymore? And my husband looks at me, he says, because we're in Pennsylvania. So I had to go and do a search to see if Pennsylvania had the same type of thing that we have here in Virginia.
Yeah, a lot of states have similar systems, but we're very proud of what we put together over the years, and it is a great resource. And it's not just the website; it's the phone number you can call, the mobile app that can actually give you audio updates as you're driving if there's an issue on the route that you are traveling. So you don't have to be distracting yourself if you're using the app while you're driving.
So, Ed, Ken mentioned the snowplow drivers in particular. So, how do you figure that stuff out when winter comes in? I mean, are you pulling people who are normally doing actual road work into a snowplow? Is it a whole separate group of staff that are only seasonal? How do you figure out who's going to be driving those snowplows every season?
No, we use our maintenance forces that do your work all year long. Each of them has an assigned vehicle and truck route for snowplow. Majority of our folks have all got many years of service of doing both, so they're experienced with the plows. You have the same people out there year round. We do split them up in the snow season when we have an event to 12-hour shifts so that we have 24-hour coverage on the roads.
I remember when I was a young chick, and my dad used to run a snowplow. I don't know that it was for VDOT. It may have been for some, pavement company that cleared parking lots. But do you guys sub that out to other places in the winter if we get a particularly bad storm?
We have contractors already signed up under contract to call in when our forces can't handle the amount of snow that we're getting. And it depends on the mob level. We have mobilization levels depending on the amounts of snow that are forecast and the amount that we are currently experiencing. And we call those contractors in. As the mob level increases, we call more contractors in. We also have, as backup for our people, we have emergency operators that can operate in our equipment. Usually they are people who are retired from VDOT and want something to do, or we don't have a lot of those, but we do use those on occasion.
And then from a supply perspective, you have different spots throughout the state. And I know you're in Edinburg, which basically covers us. Ken is Staunton district. So that covers what region does that cover, Ken?
Ed has 4 of our counties, since I'll let him give you the breakdown of those specifically. But the Staunton district covers 11 counties. It's generally the Shenandoah Valley and the Allegheny Highlands. So basically the northwestern part of the state.
And then, Ed, you break those down into 4 regions?
I have 6 area headquarters in those 4 counties. We have one at Mount Jackson, have one at Tomsbrook, 2 area headquarters in Shenandoah. Then we have one in Stevens City and one in Winchester, 2 area headquarters for Frederick. And then we have 1 area headquarters in Berryville and 1 area headquarters in Front Royal.
And are the area headquarters separate from where we see, like I know when we go visit my father-in-law who lives out at Cross Junction, we pass what appears to be a storage facility, I guess, where you would store the salt and things like that you use. Are those different from what you're talking about?
Yes, they are separate storage facilities. We have one at, as you said, at Cross Junction, where our trucks don't have to run all the way back into Winchester to load up with salt for our extended areas. We just put a new salt dome in Strasburg, where our trucks on 81, when they make a round, they can fill up there before they come back. We just revamped and expanded the facility at Linden. Is another facility where we keep our salt. In total, we have 25,000 tons of salt in stock for the residency.
And is that that's a normal amount of salt?
That's like a full load. That is a full load that we keep on hand during the winter.
And then what happens if we do have a particularly bad winter and you go through have we ever had a bad enough winter that you've gone through all of it and had to, run to Walmart at the last minute and buy some more salt?
Yeah. Yes, but our area headquarters keep track of the salt they're using on every shift. And that's forwarded to our business people in Winchester, who place orders to replenish that immediately. So we can be in the middle of a 2 or 3 day storm and still have salt being delivered.
Well, that's kind of nice. I need to do that with my coffee supplies here at my house so that I don't ever run out. I need to get some of your people to work me out their system.
It's kind of like the in-flight refueling. We do the during the winter restocking. It's actually a year-long process, but Ed mentioned 25,000 tons in the 4 counties he served. District-wide, we've got 56,000 tons of salt for our 11 counties. And there are some winters like last that we didn't have to dip too deeply into that, but you never know what Mother Nature is going to bring.
Well, and that leads me to 2 more questions, but I'm going to wait and ask you when we come back from the break, because I want to talk about the brine, because that's how I know when weather is actually coming, is I see the lines on the road and know it's time to hunker down a little bit. But I want to ask you a question about the salt when we come back too. So can we take a quick break and come back and talk some more about how you guys make the roads work in the wintertime?
Absolutely.
We're going to do all of that when we come back. It is our 2nd annual VDOT Snow Show. We are on the Zoom screen today with Ed Carter. He is the VDOT's Edinburg Residency Administrator. Also on the Zoom screen with us is Ken Slack. He is VDOT Staunton District Communications Specialist. We're going to continue this conversation with both of them in just a couple of minutes.
Do you know anyone who is struggling with financial hardships because of coronavirus? Our new webinar called Coping with the Money Crunch can help. We'll talk about immediate options to consider, revising or creating a spending plan, and lots of community resources. Then we'll cover how to narrow your priorities, contact creditors, and avoid scams and risky loans. The webinar is free, and you can either join by phone or through Zoom on a smartphone, tablet, or computer. You can find out more by visiting the Northern Shenandoah Valley Financial Education Program on Facebook or calling Karen Poff at 540-635-4549. Let me show you how to make your own plan or help someone you care about get through the crisis. Call 635-4549 or visit at NSV Financial Education on Facebook today.
Welcome back to the Valley today. I am your host, Janet Michael. Happy Monday as you are listening to the show today. We, however, have pre-recorded our conversation on the Zoom screen for our 2nd annual VDOT Snow Show. That means I am chatting today with Ken Slack. He is VDOT Staunton District Communications Specialist. And on the Zoom screen with me is Ed Carter. He is VDOT's Edinburg Residency Administrator. And guys, when we went to break, we were talking about the tonnage of salt and supplies that you keep in stock for each winter season. And Ken, you referenced the fact that, depending on the season, we had a relatively mild winter last year and didn't need near the degree of what Ed normally keeps in stock. So Ed, does the salt go bad? I mean, can you just use it year to year to year and be okay, or does it get not effective after a while?
No, the salt doesn't go bad. Okay, sometimes all of the salt is in domes that are covered, so weather cannot get to it. We generally use it from a standpoint of 1 year to the next. We mix it up as we go, if necessary, with the loader, because we have to go in with the loader to bring it out and load it into the trucks anyway.
So similar to what somebody might do with their compost pile is they go out and they mix it all back together again, just so that it stays a little fresh in the middle and on the bottom.
Yeah, well, as the trucks get in there and dump it in, we have the new facility at Strasburg has a conveyor belt, and they dump the salt into a pit, and it travels up a conveyor belt and comes through the top of the dome and down into the middle, and then spreads out as it runs in. The loader inadvertently mixes it every time it goes in there, so that we don't have any trouble with it really going bad.
Talk to me about the brine. So how do you guys mix that up, and when do you use it and when do you not use it?
Well, we have a mixing facility at Stevens City that has a capability of producing 12,000 gallons every 3 hours.
Wow.
And we can store 60,000 gallons at Stevens City. And then it doesn't have the mixing capability, but we store another 48,000 gallons at the Mount Jackson facility. We put brine down up to 48 hours in advance of a projected storm, if that storm is projected to come in as snow. If it's projected to start out as rain or ice, what happens is that the moisture will wash the brine off before the snow ever gets there. And the intent of the brine is to keep the snow from sticking to the roadways.
And what's it made out of? I mean, is it made out of something that I could mix up here at home and put in my own driveway to keep from having to shovel sooner?
Well, it's a water and salt solution. I don't have the exact percentage of salt to water, but the salt solution is, I think, around 5 or 6%. It's very low concentration, and it dries very quickly on the roadway.
I love that.
That it's you were just getting ready to mention the white stripes, weren't you?
Yes, I was.
And that's how you know that in case you've had your head in the ground and not paying attention to a forecast, if you start driving and you see the white stripes on the road, you know something's coming.
Well, and I have a lot of friends that just don't believe the forecast. So it's like reinforcement when they think, oh, yeah, that's what they always say. The weatherman, sorry, Kemp, but the weathermen aren't always right. But then they see it and they're like, oh, okay, wait a minute. VDOT says there's something coming. Now I need to go get my milk and bread, my eggs before it all starts.
The other advantage to it, Janice, is that if they project a storm to come in, let's say on a Saturday morning, and we go out there on a Thursday and pre-treat, and something happens and the storm rolls in on Friday. And we have had a lot of these little clippers come through unexpectedly. It gives us a chance, without that snow adhering to the pavement, to get our equipment out there.
And does it impact, so if you know there's a storm coming Saturday morning and you're putting the brine down on Thursday, does the amount of traffic on the road have any impact on whether or not that brine wears off?
No, not really. It really takes moisture to get it off.
Well, that's interesting.
Because it dries up pretty quickly once it hits the roadway. But I do want to emphasize, if you see those brine trucks out there, give them plenty of space. You do not want to be directly behind one of those when they're putting that salt water mixture down. It's not particularly good for the for your vehicle while it's still wet. But it dries pretty quickly, and it's completely safe to drive on. And as Ed said, it stays on there like you said, for up to 48 hours before the precipitation starts.
Well, and we were talking about this during the break too, Ken, because, I use it as a signal that it's time to stay home for a couple of days because bad weather may be coming. And I would guess that a lot of people do the same thing, because ideally what you guys would like is, if there's a forecast for a bad storm and the snow starts falling, for everybody to just stay home so you can get out and get it cleared quicker so we can all get back out faster.
I'm sure Ed would agree that the best roads during a snowstorm are empty roads, that the only vehicles out there would be the trucks that are owned and operated by VDOT and the contractors and hired equipment that help us clear them. If drivers can postpone their travel, if they can work remotely, or make any kind of arrangements to give us a chance to get our jobs done, to get those roads safe. I mean, that's the whole point. Let's face it, if you're getting ready to pull out and you see a snow plow coming along, you're going to wait and probably wait, and so that you can drive behind the snow plow because they're making the road safer. So that whole concept applies for the road system as a whole.
So, Ed, what is your system for which roads get cleared first and in what order? Because I'm sure you get bombarded from residents up and down the Shenandoah Valley saying, hey, how come you don't do my neighborhood until XYZ? There's a system in place for in what order you do which roads and why, isn't there?
Yes, there is. Our primary, we start with our interstate because that handles the most traffic through the state. And then our primaries are done because people can get to the primary to get into their centers of interest, such as your towns, your doctor's offices, and emergency services can get out. Then our high volume secondaries. We have secondaries in our area with as many as 20,000 cars a day. We have secondaries with as many as 50 cars a day. So what we try to do is work with our roads, starting with interstate, primary, high volume secondary, and then down the line.
I see some signs sometimes that say snow emergency route. Are those roads that get cleared in that higher priority section?
Yes, they're generally on your primary routes.
I got to tell you that the one stressor that has always been since I took over this radio show is getting into the station to be able to keep doing the show during the winter. And for the last several years, I've tried to get ahead of the game. If there was a storm forecasted, I would go ahead and have my guests come in early and pre-record. But this Zoom thing is making my life a whole lot easier. So you're not going to have to worry about me being out on the roads when the weather gets bad, because I'm going to still be in my kitchen recording a radio show as normal.
Well, obviously the pandemic has changed a lot of way that people are doing business today. And it's no different from us. It's challenging for us to get our jobs done, but we have been very blessed in that we have been able to continue to do that. We have a great group of people that work for us that are dedicated. They're considered essential, and they show up from work. The protocols and safety issues that we take now are different than they used to be in terms of social distancing and wearing masks and not having more than one person to a truck, just to name a few. But those are all things that we're adjusting to and will continue throughout the snow season.
And I think if there could be a silver lining to all of this in the pandemic, and I found several with some of the small businesses and nonprofits that I've talked to, it's that at least in this particular instance, you've had that for a couple of, it feels like we're going on 10 years now, but we've been at this for a while. So you've kind of been able to work out any kinks and bugs going into the winter season. So it's not going to be all of the sudden, this is something new you have to deal with. You guys have been able to put protocols in place already.
That's correct. Statewide, these protocols are in place for VDOT.
So, Ken, before we wrap up, can you tell everybody one more time how they can get information at a moment's notice on the phone, on the website, or however they want through Virginia 511?
Absolutely. Yeah, the website is 511virginia.org. We also have a mobile app that you can download for the whether you have an Apple or an Android device. It's very handy and it's fully functional. And of course, you can dial 511 as well. But a particular feature in the wintertime that's very handy is the main map that's on the website, and it works on the mobile app too. It basically color codes the roadway, so that you can tell whether a road is in minor condition or moderate condition, which basically are just different levels of snow cover on the roadway. And if you want to, you can also view a text list county by county, which particular roads are in what condition, so that you can look not only at the roads close to you, but between you and your destination. So we keep that updated several times a day, and it's the VDOT staff throughout our residencies and area headquarters that keep that updated.
The other thing that I love about that app is that I can see the traffic cameras. So I can actually take a look right outside my door at the traffic camera just down the road here at Middletown, looking at 81 and see just how clear is 81, how much traffic is there out there before I decide whether I'm going to be brave enough to venture out.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you mentioned the cameras. They're a great resource, and I believe, Ed, and correct me if I'm wrong, though, a lot of our folks use the cameras too, because there are certain cameras that that they'll go to where the snow might hit first when we're watching the storm come in.
That's correct. And we also use it to monitor the roads as our people are out there from remote distances, because obviously we don't have enough monitors to be on every foot of it. So we can keep track of everything in our residency along the interstate with cameras. And that's in addition to our monitors who are out there in short segments along the interstate that guide our trucks as well as contractor trucks doing an event.
Well, thank you both. I appreciate the snow conversation on a day when it looks like it could snow, but we're not supposed to get any for a while. So I think that's as close to, perfect as we can get.
Let it wait till January as far as I'm concerned.
I am with you there. We are going to wrap up our conversation today. It has been our second annual VDOT Snow Show. We have been on the Zoom screen pre-recording with Ken Slack. He is VDOT Staunton District Communications Specialist. Ed Carter has also been on the Zoom screen with us. He is VDOT's Edinburg Residency Administrator. And I will say that even though we did the show last year and I told everybody Ed was going to come clear my driveway, he did not come and clear my driveway. I did not get any special privileges for being a radio show host. But I do appreciate that both of you took some time out of your day to come and chat with me today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jan. Appreciate
Thank you for having us.
I will be back tomorrow. It is Tourism Tuesday, and I'm going to do it with a little bit of a twist. We are going to be talking with Scott Bradley Hessen tomorrow about a book that he has written. Meet me back here tomorrow. I'll have that conversation with Scott ready to go for you just a few minutes after noon.